Okay, grammar for ESL learners, articles. Articles and determiners modify nouns. Examples of articles include a, and, the. We have also talked about the zero article, but that just means that there is no article. Examples of determiners include this, these, and those. We're not going to talk about determiners, but I do want you to know that they exist. Instead, we're just going to focus on articles. One important note about articles is that they can prove to be extremely tricky for ESL learners. For native speakers, they are often known intuitively. So native speakers don't walk around thinking about the rules for articles, but you and I should probably talk about them. Rules for indefinite articles. So the indefinite articles are just a and an. You use a and an for singular count nouns. You use a and an when there is no reference to a specific person or thing. You use a before a consonant sound. Example of this would be a small car moves more quickly than a big truck. So that's just any car and any truck. You use an before a vowel sound, such as a, e, I, o, u, and sometimes y. Here's an example. An elephant moves more slowly than an ant. So that's any elephant and any ant. You use an indefinite article and a singular noun to classify or to categorize. Here's an example. You are a student. I am a teacher. That is an elephant. The first time that a noun is introduced, it might have an indefinite article because it's not a specific thing yet. Here's an example. He drank from a water bottle. The second time, it might require a definite article because it becomes a specific thing. Here's an example. He drank from a water bottle. He didn't know it, but the water bottle was filled with vinegar. So you can see that in the first sentence, it's not a specific water bottle, but the second time it is mentioned, it does become a specific water bottle. This change occurs because the listener understands that you are talking about a specific or definite noun. The rules for definite articles, which is just the, you use them for specific nouns, you use if the noun is one of its kind, and you use it before newspapers, regular publications, governing bodies, and geographical regions. You also use them for before collective names. So use for specific nouns. Here's an example of the differences. So here's a non-specific singular noun where you would use a or an. There is a pretzel in the kitchen. For non-specific plural nouns, you have no article or the zero article. There are pretzels in the kitchen. For specific singular nouns, then you do use the definite article. Here's an example. Pick up the pretzel that you dropped. A student in class mentioned that you should also add please. Pick up the pretzel that you dropped, please. For a specific plural noun, I ate all of the pretzels that were on top of the fridge. Okay, so that is a specific bag of pretzels, the ones that were on top of the fridge. You use if the noun is one of its kind, and decades are a good example for this rule. That happened in the 1990s. You also use the definite article before newspapers, regular publications, governing bodies, and geographical regions. The local newspaper here is the Western Star. So you need the definite article. I like to read the Western Star. You use definite articles before collective names. My favorite basketball team when I was a kid was the Boston Celtics. So here's an example. They are the Boston Celtics. The rules for zero articles, you are going to use them for most proper nouns, such as a person's name. Her name is Melissa. So no article before the name. Use for non-specific plural nouns. So Melissa, that's our proper noun, watched cars pass by the house. So that's a non-specific plural noun. They're just any cars. You also use the zero article for non-specific uncountable nouns. Here's an example. Melissa, which is the proper noun, watched them until dark. So dark is an uncountable noun. There are exceptions, so that's one thing to remember for articles. However, I think these rules should be helpful. They only really apply to standard English, because for regional Englishes, there are different rules for how articles are used. And I hope the activity worked well for you too. That's it for articles.